Welcome to the Albany High School Library's summer reading list for 11th graders. This is Mrs. Mikan, one of the Albany High School librarians, and I'm going to be sharing with you several book titles that might interest you for you to complete this summer reading assignment. We post all documentation that you'll need to be successful on our Weebly site at albanyhighschoolsummerreading.weebly.com. We're also available on Twitter at ALBHSLIB. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first couple of titles. The first title is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is an autobiographical book about Ruta Sepetys' family. During the 1940s, we often think of the Holocaust and the concentration camps, but during this time, Ruta's family was targeted for being shipped to the death camps, the work camps up in Siberia. 15-year-old Lena and her mother and her father are ripped from their homes by the Soviet guards, and they are shipped to Siberia. Their father is sent to be killed, and Lena and her family are trying to get out of Siberia. They work there in the freezing cold for years and years and years. Find out if Lena and her family make it out alive. Ruta Sepetys' Between Shades of Grey. The next title is called How to Save a Life by Sarah Zarr. This is a contemporary fiction novel. This features two main characters, 17-year-old Jill and nearly 19 years old Mandy. Jill's still reeling in grief from the recent tragic death of her father, and Mandy actually turns out to be unexpectedly pregnant. Jill's mother has this grand plan, this grand idea to adopt Mandy's baby, and all of these characters are thrown together in a situation that they couldn't possibly have anticipated. Nothing turns out the way that they thought it would. Find out what happens in How to Save a Life by Sarah Zarr. Next up is Laurie Halse Anderson's Chains. This is a historical fiction novel. As you can see, it's won a couple of awards. It was the National Book Award finalist, and it also was the Scott Odell Award for historical fiction. This takes place during the Revolutionary War in New York City. The two main characters are Isabel and Ruth, who are young African American slaves who upon the death of Ruth's owner and Isabel's owner, had guaranteed their freedom. That promise was not kept. They were sold to a very malicious family, the Locktons, who, as it turns out, may in fact be spying for the British during this wartime event. Isabel possibly could use the fact that the Locktons are potentially British spies to her advantage. Find out if she's able to parlay that information into breaking these chains. Laurie Halse Anderson's Chains. The next title up is Tweak by Nick Sheff. This one is dark. It's very dark. It's autobiographical. This is a true story. It's Nick Sheff surviving the spiral of drug addiction. He was drunk for the first time at the age of 11. In the years that followed, he regularly smoked pot, he snorted cocaine, he did ecstasy, and developed horrific addictions to crystal meth and heroin. But he always thought that he had control over it, that he could stop any time, and that it was very manageable. And then it took a very violent incident to remind him that he really did not have it under control. We watch this character, this real person, Nick, plunge into the physical and mental depths of addiction and withdrawal, and he paints a very grim picture of what life looks like without hope. Find out what happens to Nick Sheff in Tweak. The next title is I'm Not Her by Janet Gertler. This is a contemporary fiction title about two sisters, Tess and Christina. Tess is the exact opposite of her beautiful athletic sister. That's okay, Christina is the sporty one. Tess is the smart one. They each have their place until Christina is diagnosed with cancer. Suddenly, Tess is in the center of the popular crowd, everyone eager for updates. There are senior boys flirting with her, but the smiles of her picture perfect family are cracking, and her sister could be dying. Find out how Tess stands up. Does she do it? Can she do it? Is she going to be the strong one? If she doesn't hold it together, who will? I'm Not Her by Janet Gertler. The next title is Marcus Zusak, which you may actually recognize from another book of his called The Book Thief. This one is a Prince Honor title, and it is called I Am the Messenger. This is an interesting story about a 19-year-old cab driver named Ed Kennedy, who's kind of a loser. He hangs out with his friends, he drinks a little booze, he plays cards, but really just does not have much of a future until one particular day he manages to be the hero in by stopping a bank robbery, and then after that he starts to get playing cards in the mail with messages and clues for him to solve or interfere, much like the way he stopped the bank robbery. All of a sudden he's the hero of the day, but the real question begins: what who's behind these messages that he's getting? It's a real page turning mystery. You'll like this one. I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. The next title is Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. You may recognize this as it also has a major motion picture. Have you ever wanted to run away to the circus? This title is historical fiction. It takes place in the right after the Depression in the 1930s, and it's about a kid named Jacob who is training to be a veterinarian, and he gets this incredible chance to go work for the circus to take care of the circus animals. And when he gets there, he's really unnerved by kind of the way circus life is with the performers and some of the folks that work the circus. He meets the equestrian rider Marlena, this beautiful, beautiful woman who happens to be married to the incredibly abusive and obnoxious animal trainer. It's an interesting look at circus life during that time, and it's a great mystery as far as what happens to people when they do really crappy things. Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I neglected to mention one of the stars of the book is the beloved elephant Rosie, who completely takes your heart for a ride as an endearing animal under duress. So, Water for Elephants, Rosie is one of the fantastic characters in this title as well. Next up is The Walled City by Ryan Groudon. This is dark, mature, and criminal. There's almost a cautionary asterisk next to this title. It takes place in this former fortress called the Walled City, which is now only filled with prostitutes, thugs, criminals, and criminal elements. There's the main character is a teenager named Day, who is really trying to get out of this walled city because being in the walled city is a struggle for survival every single day. He enlists the help of a prostitute from one of the brothels, and she pulls in one of their friends because they're really trying to make a mistake. Make an escape, excuse me. Find out if they get out of the walled city by Ryan Groudon. The next title is Jude by Kate Morganroth. As you can see from the book cover, the main character, Jude, is wearing handcuffs. He's really reeling from some events. His father was a drug dealer who recently was murdered due to the drug dealing, and he ends up in custody of his mother, who he thought abandoned him. The plot thickens here when he figures out that that's not actually the case, and there's some creative ideas about how to get Jude out of the situation with the drug dealing father. So find out what happens to Jude. Does he land in jail or not? And who can you trust? There were some questions about whether or not he should be trusting the mother who he did not have contact with. So find out what happens. Jude by Kate Morganroth. We're also going to press pause on this presentation. We're at that halfway mark. And We have about 10 seconds left, and I'm going to post part two. Stay tuned.